Good morning, one and all.
We are in Croatia.
We are. We've come into Croatia and turned right back around again and are heading straight back out.
So we left you on a bit of a cliffhanger last week. If you've been watching as we go along, if you haven't, maybe go back and watch the cliffhanger first.
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be fun.
The original plan was to head down to Bosnia, Montenegro and Dubrovnik, but it's raining down there and we don't really want to be in the rain, especially in a van, so we're turning around and we're heading back to Slovenia and then up to Hungary.
Now, there's good reason why we're going to Hungary, but you're going to have to stick around to the end to find out what that is.
Yeah. First of all, we've got castles in cliff faces, we've got Soviet statues in fields, and we've got caves with stalagmites and stalactites. It's going to be a good one.
And some bumpy Croatian roads to get us there.
Exactly.
We're the Newbys, a family of travellers with big dreams. I'm Tara, this is John, and this year we were joined by our little boy Crusoe. 2020 sent the world for a loop, and it sent us on a journey. Not wanting to waste a single minute or second of it, we embraced van life and travelled to over 20 countries in Europe in our self-converted campervan. With the arrival of Crusoe into the world, our priorities remain the same: to make every moment matter, to take this little family around the world and to teach our children about huge horizons, a life full of opportunity and adventure around every corner.
So we've just parked up at the Caves car park. Pretty decent price, 20 euros for 24 hours of parking here, and we get electricity and water and somewhere to dump our wastewater as well, which was pretty handy. It is the least inspiring place I think we've ever parked up, but in this area of Europe it's quite tricky to do the old wild camping malarkey. Unfortunately the police are on it, they don't like it. It's not Germany, it's not France, it's not Spain, it is well, Slovenia.
Should we go see a cave?
Look at that, that looks cool, doesn't it?
That looks mega cool.
Oh man,
Yay.
I'm excited.
Me too.
I want to be that dude.
I have no idea what to expect, so...
Okay.
Nice.
Got the tickets. That was very expensive. So to go and see the castle tomorrow and the cave today, we're going at 3 o'clock, it cost a total of 73 euros for both of us, both Tara and myself. Crusoe cost 2 euros. Obviously not complaining about the 2 euros, not complaining about the 73 euros either, as long as the cave is just a rock star cave and the castle is epic, including the parking overnight and the tickets. It's nearly 100 euros that will have dropped here without eating or doing anything.
That doesn't sound good. I just caught the tail end of that, 100 euros.
73 euros for 2 tickets. Yeah, and they charge Crusoe 2.
What?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go. Let's go and have a refund.
Castle and Cave. 35.70 each.
Why did they charge Crusoe 2 euros?
Security.
What?
Yeah.
Does Crusoe need a slightly phallic looking salamander teddy bear?
No, he doesn't. Can't afford it anymore. That's 2 days worth of budget gone. We get to go on a train though.
Hey.
Crusoe. Yeah, I know it echoes on the train straight away.
Whoa. Looks alarmingly like a roller coaster. I'm gonna trust it.
It does look like a roller coaster, doesn't it? Crusoe likes spaces that echo. And he makes these loud noises, so shush Crusoe. We're in the train. So far, so good, I'd say.
I mean, this is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
It was with an overwhelming sense of surprise and awe that we entered the caves. Our toy train rattled gently along the tracks, barely missing the rocks as John and I ducked our heads, and Crusoe began to become more and more vocal. There was no doubting now that what was in store was going to be very special indeed.
This has to be the coolest station I've ever pulled up in my life. Check it out.
No doubt.
train's left us.
I am truly awestruck. There's no other word for it.
My goodness, look.
And so we stepped off the toy train and walked into what can only be described as a grotto of majesty. Like everyone who enters the cave, we had joined a tour, and the bits that we heard and listened to were super interesting. However, in true newbie style, and in our endeavours to distance Crusoe's excitement, we often found ourselves wandering around alone.
We've had to take Crusoe out of the harness and give him to Mum because he's just too excited.
He really is. Beside himself. So if your mind hadn't been blown already, this cave is 3 million years old. And the biggest stalagmites in here are 500,000 years old. What he said.
Crusoe's very impressed.
So some more facts I learned.
Yeah.
We're 130 metres deep.
Okay, that'll explain what it's called.
3.5 kilometres from the entrance of the cave.
Okay, that'll explain the train.
Yeah. This was discovered by a local boy, but I didn't catch the boat. So we'll have to find that out. We're on our way to a section called Paradise. I mean, what could possibly top any of this? You know what's just blown my mind again? If you think about something like this, right? There has been a drip of water dripping there for nearly 500,000 years.
As we were nearing the end of our time in the cave, we caught up to our group just in time to hear about a very special salamander. If there were ever a creature that demonstrates how life really just wants to live, this salamander would be it.
We met these little salamanders down in that cave, but you're not allowed to take photos of them because they're very, very sensitive to light. But this is the only place in the world where this particular salamander lives. In 4 caves or something down there. It's completely blind, doesn't have any pigment, and it can go without eating for 10 years and live for up to 100. Incredible.
That's an amazing creature.
Isn't it?
I'm a big fan of salamanders.
Basically, it just lies there until a tiny cave spider walks past once every 10 years and goes...
Minutes and seconds, eh?
Delicious.
Minutes and seconds.
Minutes and seconds.
That's the way.
We reckon it could only be Crusoe's curiosity that woke us up at 5 a.m. the next day, and rather than fight us all back to sleep, we started the day by comparing feet. And then it was time to go and see a castle.
You just had a tongue pulled at you.
I saw it.
Who's that? That Dad.
Little Mr. Man. It's been a busy day for Crusoe already. He's been awake for 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
3 hours.
so Crusoe woke us up just before 5. The castle only opens at 10. Quite a lot of time to fill. So we're here when nobody's here because it's not open.
Nobody. Uh-oh. Go away.
No, we're...
No.
Oh, shit.
No cats allowed.
What is going on?
Well,
Right.
if you name a van Safari, you've only got yourself to blame, really.
Okay, team.
All right, let's go and have a look at this this castle. All alone at the castle because of you, Crusoe. Well done. like your mum says, in a month or so's time, when we're cruising around the savannas of Africa, we'll be delighted that you wake us up early.
Yeah.
But right now,
It's a bit brutal. The sun only comes up at 8. Check this out. This lime tree is 500 years old. It was planted after a notorious robber baron, Erasm of Predjama. His life was tragically ended in 1484 when the castle he was hiding in was besieged. So his girlfriend planted the tree on his grave next to the church that he constructed in his memory, because in Slovenia, the lime tree is considered a symbol of life, good health, wisdom, and justice.
which is a bit weird because he's dead.
Yeah, and he was a thief. Puzzling story. Very old tree.
A 500-year-old lime tree. I think later today we might see the world's oldest grapevines.
That's it. We are going to go and see the oldest grapevine in the world that is still producing grapes.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So the dude who had the lime tree planted on his grave for health is the owner of this castle.
Was one of the owners of
Okay.
this castle. It has changed hands many times through history. It's also been destroyed and rebuilt many times. So it was first noted in history books in 1274, but this current form is from the 16th century. It's in the Guinness Book of Records for being the biggest cave castle in the world.
Okay,
The most famous owner was the dude whose lime tree is there.
the lime tree for health
The lime tree for health. Some people say that...
and honesty
and honesty and justice.
and justice.
Some people say that he was a charming, handsome knight of the realm, and other accounts say that he was a robber baron, and that the tunnel that's used to access the castle from behind the castle through the cave was there so that he could rob stuff.
What would you want to rob anything for if you owned a castle like that?
Well, that's probably why he owned the castle, isn't it?
Ooh.
The robber baron got so rich that he managed to build himself what is still today the world's largest cave castle. The castle didn't open at 10, it opened at 11. So by the time we eventually stepped foot inside, we had been waiting for 6 hours, which is a pretty long time to wait for a castle door to open.
So we finally got in, and at last it felt like we were waiting for ages and ages and ages. We've been given these little recorders and we walk around and we scan them on the walls in each room we go into, and it tells us a little bit about the story of the room and the history of the building. I like that because it gives you a little bit of space and a little bit of freedom to explore the castle without having to bump shoulders with a tour group.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really nice way of doing it. It's a very clever place as well, the way that they built it within the cave and used the cave structure and the rock structure to kind of be a part of the building. Quite remarkable. They say that if you come up here at night time,
Yeah,
lots of spooky sounds, droplets of water falling within the cave,
yeah.
voices from the village carrying up and echoing through the caverns,
Oh my goodness.
and apparently the water droplets sound like a lost soul walking the steps of the abandoned castle.
Oh my goodness. So what's the noise that we're hearing at the moment?
Sound effects in the torture chamber.
The castle is a warren of rooms and caves, ultimately leading high up into a cave that looks out and down over the village and countryside below. A pretty handy viewpoint if you're a robber baron. We explored a little more before jumping back in the van and heading north towards the Hungarian border.
So we are now around about 20 minutes away from Maribor. Maribor is world famous because, like the cave back there, it's in the Guinness Book of Records, World Records, for having the oldest grapevine, which I suppose means it's probably one of the largest in the world.
That's still producing grapes and still producing wine.
It is. Budapest is only 338 kilometres away as well, that's good. So Budapest, of course, is our next stop after that. So that's it. So we're just going to go nip into Maribor, jump out of the car, have a look at this grapevine, and then jump back in the car and carry on our journey.
It's exciting.
It is. Here it is.
Where?
On the right hand side.
There it is.
There it is.
So that, lovely people, over there is the world's oldest still producing grapevine. So I just hopped out the car quickly while John goes try and find a car park, and this is amazing. Turns out with age comes great success, because look how successful this grapevine is. There's so many grapes on it. That's amazing. Well, parking's a bit tricky in, where are we? Maribor.
Yeah.
Parking's a bit tricky in Maribor for a van of our size. So since Crusoe's still asleep, we're going to crack on. And I saw the van, John saw it from the car. That's amazing. I think that vine is 500 years old.
The only thing we haven't done there is bought a bottle of wine that is made by 500-year-old grapes, but I have a suspicion that it's going to be quite expensive.
I think so too. And after what we've already spent in Slovenia, I think we're going to have to pass on this occasion.
Yeah, exactly. So we are now around about 1 hour away from the Hungarian border. We're going to hole up in a campsite tonight before making our way across to some Soviet statues in the middle of a field tomorrow morning.
Nice. You know how we said the roof was closed?
Yeah.
It's not.
We've got to close it. All right, first job today, close the roof. We left our very thrifty campsite for the evening. It was a lovely stopover. €10 a night that one was, just on the other side of the Slovenian border. Perfect place to set off for today's adventure. We're driving 1 hour and 45 minutes to a place called Memento Park, which is really, really cool, and you'll see in a moment what we mean by that. In 1989, like the rest of the Eastern European states, Hungary left the Soviet Union. If you've watched some of our back catalogue, some of our older videos, my personal favourite is Latvia. We've told the story, or parts of the story, of the Soviet Union and how it ended up becoming a part of Eastern European life. So in 1989, Hungary left the Soviet Union like most other countries did in Eastern Europe, and they were fed up with looking at all the Soviet statues around Budapest. They didn't like it. It was a bad reminder, a bad taste in the mouth of their past that they didn't want and they didn't like. So they took all of these statues and they moved them into the middle of a field, which is where they are today. We are off to go and take a look.
Hey, little man. Well, it's not the best weather, but it's kind of cool to be in a place like this with a bit of a moody sky above, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely. The moodiness is almost a prerequisite. I'm excited for it. Hey, 2, please. Thanks.
I mean, you have to appreciate the foresight and the, I don't know what it is. I can't find the right word, but the fact that the Hungarians, instead of disposing of all of these statues and just getting rid of them and throwing them away, recognizing that they're a part of their history, one that perhaps some people look back on with more fondness than others. You know, we all have differing opinions, but they've kept them, and you know, if you just look at them as statues, they are so impressive. is our first museum experience with Crusoe, and it echoes. Crusoe, newbie, did you have to be taken out of the museum because you're just too noisy?
Oh my goodness. Terrorising caves and terrorising Stalin as well.
Honestly, my boy.
Lenin and Stalin couldn't hear themselves thinking there, Crusoe. Should we go and have a look at Budapest?
Let's, I am so excited.
Buda and Pest. On one side of the river you've got Buda, and on the other side of the river you've got Pest. I don't know which side I like most.
Well, let's go find out, shall we?
Yeah, let's go and find out.
Morning. It's a sunshiny day in Budapest today. Yesterday was a bit wet. So we're going to go and have a look around. Tricky, that tram driver. He nearly squashed Crusoe in the door on the way in. So that's why I had to almost elbow an old lady out the way. My dad wasn't getting up. Anyway, the first stop on our tour of Budapest is John's favourite building in the world.
It is my favourite building in the world. It's magnificent. It's beautiful. Take a look.
So, fun facts about the Hungarian Parliament building. It is the third largest Parliament building in the world, and it's the biggest building in Hungary.
That is a good fact.
Isn't it?
Isn't it made up of 3 different buildings though?
That's what you said.
Yeah.
So, I have more facts, but I'm going to have to read them because these are a lot. So, this building has 691 interior rooms, 10 courtyards, 88 statues of Hungarian rulers on its facade, and 12.5 miles of staircases.
That's a lot.
Isn't it?
Yeah. 12.5 miles?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
It's just one big staircase. So the Parliament building is so huge, it's probably best viewed from the other side of the Danube River, which is where we're on our way to now, to the Pest side of the river. So fun fact about Budapest, it's actually 2 cities, Buda and Pest, and then they built a bridge over the Danube and it became 1 city, Budapest. Just up the way from the Parliament building, there's a memorial of shoes on the side of the river. They're bronze shoes and they are telling a really sad story.
The story of this monument is one of the saddest we've come across on all of our travels. Simple but devastating, the bronze work of art gives remembrance to the 3,500 people, 800 of them Jews, who were shot into the Danube during the time of the fascist Hungarian army, the Arrow Cross of Terror. The victims were ordered to take off their shoes and were shot at the edge of the water so that their bodies fell into the river and were carried away.
So let's brush off that feeling a little bit and head over the river, over the Danube, one of Europe's greatest rivers, to Buda.
Cool. We're going to go over the chain bridge, which was the first bridge built to connect the 2 cities.
Right, okay. That's when it became Budapest then?
Indeed.
Indeed. Okay, so...
It's usually very beautiful, sadly.
It's in a bag.
It's in a bag.
Yeah. Never mind.
So, the chain bridge is not only in a bag, it's also completely closed. So we've just had to walk about a mile out of our way to get to where we are. And so we're taking the escalator rather than the stairs.
Yeah, just before you get to the castles of Buda, there is a lift. It's a secret lift. You jump in the lift, it goes up 3 floors, and then you've got an escalator that takes you all the way to the top, and you get to the palace, and then you can walk along without having to climb up all the stairs. Delighted.
Delighted.
Nice. All the way at the top.
Good view, isn't it?
Huh?
That is a good view.
How about that, Danny? I just saved your legs massively.
Yeah, that was a big time.
Great views from up here as well. Czech Parliament.
Magnificent, isn't it?
It's a great looking building there.
I don't know what it is as well, but I'm sure I learned about it at school. The Danube River for me has got like a, I don't know, it feels really monumental to be on the banks of the Danube. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That has to be the coolest roof in the world.
In the world. I think it is the coolest roof in the world.
How beautiful.
Yeah. This is
You know what
Buda.
it looks like? You know that game you used to play like battleships where the little pieces you drop down into the holes?
Yeah.
The tiles look like the pieces from battleships.
Connect 4.
Yeah, that's it.
Hungary has so much history, and of course was once an empire with kings and queens who had occupied the Buda castle since about 1250. After the Austrian-Hungarian Compromise of 1867, the Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph was crowned Hungarian king here, and of course later his nephew's assassination would have huge consequences on the entire world, kicking off World War I. Buda sits in stark contrast to its cousin over the water, Pest, with elegant lines and palaces, colourful rooftops and considerably less traffic. It's quiet and has more of a tourist feel. The castle of Buda really does inspire, and it affords the very best views of Pest and those very impressive Parliament buildings.
So I'm going to try one of these chimney cakes. They look amazing.
How long does a chimney cake take?
It's 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
11 minutes.
We have to wait because they make it fresh.
Yes, you need to wait that.
Is it nearly ready yet?
I think we've got 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Smell it. I think this is going to be like a cinnamon roll crossed with a wafer cone
Okay.
and a donut.
Okay.
If they all made a baby, we'd have a chimney cake.
Okay.
What is that? Thank you. I mean, a bit sad about the plastic bag, but never mind.
What is it?
It's a chimney cake.
It's got a hole in it.
Because it's a chimney.
It's a bit disappointing.
Maybe it means it's less calories. I don't have to feel guilty.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
That was a bit of an anticlimax, to be honest. We waited 11 minutes for that, and then another 5 minutes for Tara to actually speak and let us know whether she's enjoying it or not. And then she says, yeah, that's all right. I don't know if you're like me, you were hoping for a bit more than that.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum. That's better.
I think we call it a day. What do you think?
I'm knackered.
Me too. That was a lot of walking. 20,000 steps today.
20,000 steps.
Come on then. Let's amble our way back to the van. Right, you two. That's a cheeky little smile, Crusoe. What are you up to?
I found a flight.
Where have you found a flight to, my love?
It costs £22.
Well, that is bloody brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because it's a 3.5 hour flight.
No way.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it leaves in 36 hours.
Okie doke.
Shall we go?
I think we gotta.
I'll get them booked.
Are you going to tell us where we're going?
Tune in next week, folks. Find out where we end up. I know where we'll end up first of all because we've got it planned for tomorrow morning, and we're not going to change that. We're off to the spa tomorrow morning to enjoy some thermal baths, and after that it looks like we'll be getting on an aeroplane.
How exciting. Once again, our plans change. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please do help us grow by hitting that thumbs up and leaving us a comment because we love hearing from you. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and turn on those notifications by hitting the little bell, and we'll see you next week.
We will see you next week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. It's been a long one. Next week is going to be mega.
Yeah, I cannot wait.